Hi, all, and happy holidays. It is Monday, December 24th at about 5 o'clock in the morning because I am an insanely early riser. I love early mornings. This is the best time to do work and to get things done for me personally because I have a higher sense of clarity and purpose basically in the first half of the day. So that's why I'm up so early, if you can see in the corner of my computer screen. Actually, probably wouldn't be able to, but in any case, let's move on. I wanted to do another installment for you guys, and it's been a while. It's been, I would say, almost, oh my goodness, like 4 months, 5 full months since I've been back on here. I've been super busy with graduate school, so sorry about that. But I did want to come back on to address my lovely, badass black single moms on a topic that I think is really important for us to think about, to understand, and then to just keep near and dear to our hearts. And this particular topic is about shoulda, woulda, coulda. Okay? And I'm here to tell you, my lovely, badass black single moms, that shoulda, coulda, woulda, or shoulda, woulda, coulda is not for you. It is not for you. And what I mean by that is, if you sort of put your ear to the ground in our community or put your finger on the pulse of the social perspectives that people take on black single motherhood and single motherhood in general, you'll hear a lot of really interesting sort of rhetoric flying around. And amongst that rhetoric, a lot of it is essentially finger pointing rhetoric. And a lot of the ideology behind single motherhood is, well, you shouldn't have had a child out of wedlock. You could have done something quote unquote better with your life. You would have been farther along in your journey if you hadn't. And amongst all this finger pointing and finger wagging, really it doesn't tell us anything except for what we should have done in the past, which is an interesting and valid piece of information depending on, how you personally feel about your journey, but it's not particularly useful. The utility of that information is null and void because guess what? Our children are already here and they're not going anywhere unless you plan on giving them up for adoption or you plan on abandoning them somewhere or literally committing infanticide, which I don't recommend, obviously. And I'm not trying to joke about that, but unless you plan on doing one of those three things, shoulda, woulda, coulda is not for you. Our children are already here. We are already mothers. So we need to start looking for solutions that address our current situation, not what we should have done. We need to base our personal value, our personal esteem, and our personal perspective on life on what is actually happening in the present, not on what we should have done or should not have done in the past. And I actually was a little bit nervous about addressing this issue because it is based on the very idea of shoulda, woulda, coulda is based solely on the premise that having a child is a negative experience to begin with. And different people have different perspectives. I tend to believe that, children are definitely a blessing, but that they should be a planned blessing. However, I don't spend my time criticizing and pointing the finger at single mothers who did not necessarily plan their blessings. Obviously, there are things that we should have done in the past. Obviously, there are decisions and situations and contingencies that we could have taken into account prior to deciding to carry our children to term. But ultimately, we are here in the present now, living in the present now with our children, with our situations, whether they are bad situations or good situations. And nothing is really going to change that. And so I don't want to proceed either on this channel, in the world, or with my own personal life, continually kicking myself and assuming that my decisions were necessarily harmful decisions automatically. And I don't want to live in the shoulda, woulda, coulda. Shoulda, woulda, coulda is actually really great for the teaching of our young daughters. For example, if you did have a child either out of wedlock or in wedlock and things did not work out, and you are suffering financially, physically, emotionally because of that decision, which is very real, the shoulda, coulda, woulda mindset is actually something that you can pass along to your children that you are raising today. You can take your current experiences and keep your daughters and your sons very well informed about the advantages and disadvantages of having children, not only out of wedlock, but in wedlock. Because ultimately, just as a side note, you could have made all the right choices in your life, getting an education, having a great career, doing no wedding, no womb. You could have basically waited until you had that ring on your finger and your life secured before having children, and your life still could be a hot mess in the future. Because ultimately, we can control ourselves, but we can't control other people, specifically our husbands or our boyfriends, who decide either to stick around or not, whether they're married or not. And that's actually a completely different installment and vlog that I'm going to record a little later, because it's very interesting to listen to all of these shoulda, coulda, woulda warriors who are basically putting all the decisions of childbirth onto you because you're carrying the child, but are not considering the fact that you can only control your own decisions. You can't control whether or not your boyfriend or your husband or your family or your friends are going to stick by you. So I just find that very interesting that in the effort to blame and pathologize and criminalize Black single mothers, people leave out the agency of everyone else. But again, that's a side point. Let's get back to the main issue. Shoulda, coulda, woulda is something that you can use as a moral lesson, as a life lesson, financial lesson, etc., for your female children and for your male children as well. So that is most useful for them. It is not useful for you. It only really makes you feel badly about your situation. It only makes you feel badly about the choices that you've made. And it's really just it's heaping a lot of negativity onto you. And this is not to say that if you did make a mistake in your own calculations, if you did have a child out of wedlock, knowing that the person you were having a child with was trash, if you made decisions that were not good decisions for yourself personally and your life, that is definitely something that you have to sit with and you have to own and you have to reflect on, and that you have to learn from, and so that you can do better in the future. This podcast, this vlog series this channel is not about letting single mothers off the hook, so to speak. But what this channel is more geared toward is to look at our past mistakes or our past decisions, whatever they might be, because your past decision might have not been a mistake. It might have just been a decision. But the point of this channel is to look at our past decisions and to learn from them, to take wherever the L's are in that decision. We take those L's, we sit, we ruminate, and we learn, and then we let go and we move on. And I actually had to come to that particular decision myself about 2 years ago, because I put a lot of blame and anger and shame on myself for the decisions that I made in the past, which honestly, most of those decisions, aside from deciding to have my child, weren't even bad decisions. The relationship just didn't work out. He asked me to marry him, and so he wanted to be a part of his child's life. He is still a part of his child's life. But I ultimately decided not to marry him because he had asked me. I had the ring on my finger. I decided not to marry him, and I decided to move forward because that was not going to be the best situation for myself and for my career. for a variety of reasons that I'll get into on a different installment. But that was a decision that I made. I had the ring, I had the commitment, and I had and still have a father who is very involved in our daughter's life. And if I sat around and let shoulda, woulda, coulda just eat me alive, I would not be where I am today. Publishing my fourth novel, building my business, getting my third degree, just feeling very empowered, very fulfilled, and very happy with my life and with my decisions. And now, with all the things that I'm building for myself, I will be able to pass on a legacy, both a cultural and social, intellectual, and financial legacy onto my daughter. And she deserves that. But if I had allowed the shoulda, coulda, woulda mentality to eat me alive the way that sometimes our community wants it to eat us alive, I would not be in this position today. I wouldn't even have the strength to talk to you guys because I would be so mired in the bog of my past mistakes. And I just want to let you guys know, all you ladies out there, you are allowed to have your past decisions. You are allowed to have your past L's. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to grow and to learn, just like everyone else in this world, just like all the Black men in our community, all the single childless women in our community, all of our mothers and fathers and everyone else who is allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to make decisions. You are allowed to stumble and then pull yourself up and to do that without having the rotten eggs of your past thrown at you every step of the way. And so I just want to put that out there. Don't stay in a space of shoulda, woulda, coulda. Be in a space of these were my decisions, or these were my mistakes, or both. This is what I could have done better. This is what I'm going to choose to do in the present and in the future. This is how I'm going to heal myself to prevent myself from making similar mistakes or similar decisions or what have you, and then move forward. That's why I have this background on my computer saying shoulda, woulda, coulda, but did ya? If you didn't make a decision, or if you didn't have good judgment, there's not much you can do about it. If you did, good for you. If you didn't, learn from it and move forward. But don't allow people to continue to define you by your past decisions and your past mistakes, okay? Because I see a lot of people in our community and just in the world at large who are still struggling. A lot of, and this is not to brag at all, but I'm just being real. A lot of men, a lot of childless women who I just see stumbling and falling on their faces with no excuse. It's like, and I'm not saying that children should be an excuse for you to screw up your life or whatever, but, we're the ones who are looked at as the quote unquote mistakes in the community. We're the ones who are looked at as the pariahs a lot of the time. And I look at myself and the things that I've achieved and the things that I'm proud of, the things that I can, basically take to my grave and leave. I don't have to take them with me and have my dreams buried in the ground. They will continue to walk around in the society after I am gone and continue to make waves. I look at the things that I'm doing, and then I look at the things that these other more supposedly superior people are doing, the people who made, quote, good decisions with their lives. And I'm just like, you're not really doing much of anything with your life. I have a child and I'm a single mom. What's your excuse? You know what I'm saying? So, I don't, and this is not to say that the reality of having children is not a heavy one, and that the reality of, there being financial repercussions to being a single mom aren't real. Those are extremely real. And what we're not going to do is, play games, play reindeer games on this channel and pretend that, the single mom has it as easy as, the childless woman or the childless man. Okay. We're not going to pretend as though, we're in the exact same financial or social position as childless people. We're not. That's not what we're going to do here. But at a certain point, what I have found to be true is that your individual drive is pretty much everything. Okay, you might be held back for a few years while you're taking a break out of the workforce to take care of your children, or you have to take certain jobs to take care of your children, etc. But at the same time, you can have a childless person who is choosing not to do anything with their lives. And that doesn't make them more valuable than you just because they don't have children, right? So there are levels to this whole game. And because there are levels to this whole game, the shoulda, coulda, woulda, coulda, that's not for us. It does not work for us. And we're going to basically rebuke that and leave that by the wayside. Okay, the only thing you should be focused on with shoulda, coulda, woulda are, one, the lessons that you plan on passing down to your children, and two, the lessons that you plan on learning for yourself completely. Okay, the things that you need to take away from your past decisions that are ultimately going to benefit your future decisions. After you're done pimping shoulda, woulda, coulda for those two reasons, it's time to leave that behind and move up and move on. Period. So don't let anybody weigh you down with this BS, and you just keep doing you. You keep upholding the community. You keep getting your degrees and pursuing your education, and keep fighting for yourself. Don't fight to prove that single mothers are valuable to the community. Don't fight because you want to be accepted amongst people who are not really willing to accept you. Fight for a better future for yourself. Fight to make a better example for your children, and fight to, just be a better person and to achieve those goals that you have in your mind. Because right now, from my personal standpoint, you have all the tools that are required for you to be the baddest Black single mom in the universe. And so I don't want to ramble. That's pretty much what I wanted to say to you guys on this tip. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I hope that you took some inspiration and some encouragement from these words, because we just need more people in the community doing this kind of work, loving on single mothers, loving them despite all the decisions that we've made, and seeing them for who they can be, not for who they were, good, bad, or indifferent. All right, you are just as worthy of having a clean slate as anybody else in the community. And that is what I'm going to leave you guys with, okay? Love yourselves, love each other, and keep being badass. All right, big hugs, and have a great day.